majority of the fight listeners, thank you for tuning in for this special episode here. We have friend of the podcast. We have a double champ on with us today, Andrew Toasty. And is it Toasty? Because I hear him pronounce it differently. I feel like every video I've watched, everybody's pronounced it a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's gonna happen throughout the entirety of my life. That's gonna always happen. But it's toss tea, like you're tossing tea in the Boston Harbor.
Toasty, but Toasty. Toasty,
MMA.
Toasty. I mean, dude, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
What a nickname.
I've had like personal relationships with like teachers and principals. I've been like graduating and had the graduating principal announcing all the names who knew me personally, like literally Andrew. I know how to say his name. Toasty. Every time.
Hey, when the pressure builds up, man, you just go to Toasty. You go to what you know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Awesome. But hey, we wanted to congratulate you, man, because you most recently had a fight here. And I know Will was in attendance. We were talking a little bit about it in the last episode of the podcast. But dude, you're coming through CCFC and you come out with another belt, right? Congratulations, man.
Yes, sir. Right there in the background.
New hotness.
Yeah, that's what you get from mirroring your video.
Yeah.
It was really cool to have like a show like out in the like my backyard out in Santa Cruz. Will finally was able to get his crew out there. My family had a bunch of people out there. There were people that like literally I used to live down the street from that were there. It was a really cool experience.
You say finally like you haven't been exclusively fighting on the weekends of holidays, including this
like
one.
Holidays, your wedding, like major fight cards that you have to cover. Which, by the way, big shout out to you for like going to the event and then watching the absolute shit show that was the Calvin Kattar and Arnold Allen card.
Yeah, and I think that same weekend, I think Friday, there was a ONE FC card that I watched also.
Yeah.
So much going on. Wait,
so
ONE
FC is coming to the U.S. I think they're doing Colorado or something like that.
Colorado in May, the weekend of my birthday. So as soon as tickets go up, I'm hoping to snag some.
Did you reach out to him already, Will?
I did, and I was in the running for a trip to Singapore, a paid trip to Singapore, the weekend of the 18th for a fight card there, and did not win. But
can't win them all.
Can't win them all. Hey, but shout out to ONE FC. They did give me a VR headset, so
there you go.
Yeah.
Wait, so you also fought on the weekend of Will's wedding?
Yes, I did. Was that the Napa card? That was either the Napa card or that was the one where I had the state title fight against the number one guy in the state.
Did you go to Will call and be like, hey, did he pick up his tickets? And you were all sad when you found out that Will ditched you for his wedding?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. He told me he was going to be there and that I was the most important thing happening that weekend. Clearly,
oh, that is
decisions
hilarious.
were made.
But Toasty, thank you so much for joining us again, man. And we really wanted to get you on. And I think we got the green light to show the fight, right, Will?
Yeah, I reached out. Andrew, you talked to Daniel, right? He was cool with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Big thank you for Daniel for giving us the ability to use the video. I mean, not a lot of promoters out there are like putting out their entire show free online and then allowing somebody like you to just use it on your podcast.
Well, I want to give him a shout out too, because even at the event, he was walking around and like talking to people and like chatting with people, making sure they were like being entertained and stuff. He was like pulling chairs for people and stuff, or like he was going around the whole time and like being
a good
super
host.
cool with it. Yeah,
being a good host.
There was a
Central Coast Fighting Championship.
Yeah, and then not only that, he has another fight coming up. I think it's at the end of November against Coconut Bombs, Maki Patolo.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Title fight.
Yeah, I saw them post that. I was like, dang, okay. Let's go.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, so shout out to him for giving us the go ahead to show this and putting on a cool show. And like you said, in the backyard in Santa Cruz, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And now having the ability to have you join us and watch your own fight, man. And we figured it'd be super cool to have the double champ on with us to break down the fight. We might ask you a few questions, as we're going along the way. But man, if there's anything that pops out at you while we're watching the fight, just call it out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it.
So let me pull this up. We got this guy here, right here. Look at that on deck. And then bam.
All right. So the first thing right off the bat, Toasty, the most generic question ever, right? But for somebody like myself, like Will, that haven't actually stepped into the octagon, right? What is going through your mind right now? He's reading out your name. You're about to fight. What's running through your mind?
Well, up until like the walkout, I was pretty focused. I was pretty like I had the blinders on. I was ready to go. It was almost like any other like wrestling meet I had been in high school. And then up until I got into the tunnel, and then I saw the giant group of people that Will and everybody else had created, like right at the end, and I was like, oh, now I'm nervous. This is great, awesome, fantastic.
I'm all recording you from like down the hall.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but like as soon as I saw you guys, I started like looking at the floor and like looking straight ahead and like not making eye contact to you guys. So I was like, damn, I don't like this feeling at all. And then once I got past you guys and they started putting the gel on and rubbing you down and all that sort of stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I'm back in it. And it was pretty easy to focus out once I got through the cage door. And then, like I said, it was almost like any other wrestling meet or any other like, fight that I've been in.
And was it different? So this wasn't your original opponent, right? So and you got matched up with him what, like the day before?
Correct. Yeah. So my original opponent, Cesar Moreno, this is the second time he pulled out against me. The third time he's pulled out against somebody I've known. And this is the second time I've known it happened the day before. He's also pulled out the day of weigh-ins. So it wasn't necessarily a surprise. Like in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare for Cesar, but I'm going to be prepared for this to happen. It's probably going to happen.
But did you have like a backup on deck then? Or because I know I bought my tickets through you, right? I'm sure there's other people who bought tickets through you. Like when you find out that he's pulling out, is it immediately, hey, he's pulling out, but we have this guy, so we're good? Or is there like some time where you're like, am I even going to be fighting? I got all these people coming to watch me fight. Is that even going to happen?
It depends on where you are in the card. So like me being one of the title fights, like Daniel was really focused on, this is only the second show CCFC has put on. So he's trying to fill out all his title slots, right? So he doesn't want to lose a title fight, especially when it costs him however much money just to put on that one fight. So if you're high up on the card, you're most likely they have somebody on the back burner. Like, okay, as soon as something falls through for this, it's like the Volk fight, right? They don't have a backup plan for every single fight, but they had a backup for the for Dave Volkanovski as the backup. So it's sort of the same thing.
And I'm sure as a promoter, he knew like, hey, this guy has a history of pulling out.
Yeah.
Right. So I better have something ready to go.
Another good example is my teammate Alan, who had an even worse situation happen that same night. Right? Exactly, right there in the background. He's going to come up later in the fight. I'll talk about it. There's a situation that happens where me and him are talking in the ring. But he had an opponent pull out I think it was the week of that Sunday or Monday. He pulls out. We get a different guy in there. And then weigh-ins come. We weigh in. He gets to the back and checks in. And then like 3 hours before the fight, he walks out of the building.
I remember they pulled him in. They pulled your boy in and was like, hey, he just lost his opponent. And they just did like a quick interview with him real quick. And it was like, dang, that's got to suck.
It was pretty bad. Man. So, I mean, they had a backup for him already.
Yeah.
Like, you can only have so many backups.
They needed a backup for the backup.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Damn.
That
okay,
sucks, man.
Well, let's get this guy going then. We're not going to do it with audio.
I mean, of course, if anybody's just listening in on, some of the platform, YouTube is definitely the best way to go, right?
Yeah, YouTube, Spotify will have video for this one. But yeah, YouTube definitely is the best place to watch, I think. Or Twitch. Trying to grow Twitch too.
All right, here we go. Touch of gloves. Right away, this guy goes towards his wrestling.
Yeah, he throws two overhands, a hook and then an overhand. And then sort of like I was telling Will while we were at the event, we knew that like the first big set of things he does is going to be what he's going to try to do the rest of the fight. So like you said, he did the wrestling right off the bat. I knew as I'm sitting there on my butt, okay, like he's going to try to grapple and wrestle with me. So I'm going to make him pay for whatever he wants to do. I don't like, you can sort of already see it. There's not really a moment where I give him like a second to rest. I'm always like attacking a wrist or shifting my hips, pushing out his leg. You'll see me put my leg there and kind of kick out his knee and try to like make his hip extend. And like I'm just constantly making him move, even though he's on top and he's putting pressure. He gets a couple hits in there as I come up. But every single time he does anything, I'll either shift to doing something else, or I'm just always making him work for whatever he's going for.
Not just giving him the easy position.
Exactly. Up until like there's a point where I give him the takedown. Like, right, he's gonna make a big takedown here. Boom, right there. And I didn't necessarily like give it to him, but I just sort of stood there and let him do whatever he wanted because I wanted him to make a big explosion.
And then immediately you're attacking, getting the legs up.
Yeah. Like I knew there. One of my favorite things also you'll see throughout this fight is I love working on the cage. Like I love throwing my legs up on there and like doing crazy things. Yeah. So like because I was so close to the cage, I knew as soon as I hit, I was like going to be able to shift my hips out and like wall walk or do something he wasn't ready for.
Let me know too if you want me to pause it at any point as well.
But both times, you know, he doesn't really get any damage in. Like you said, he landed a couple shots as you were standing up, but you kind of knew you had to take a couple to be able to get back up on your feet there. Like you said, after that explosion, that second takedown, again, you're moving the entire time in. You're getting into north-south position, getting back into different position, and never giving him an opportunity to land anything, man. So even though he had those takedowns, it's like didn't do much.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm sort of like using that movement as punishment. Even like these strikes to the belly. Like I know the first round they're probably not going to do that much. But I didn't know it in the moment. But like in hindsight, you look back on the video and you can see him in the second round like sucking in some big wins as I'm throwing to the body. So you can tell in hindsight that they definitely added up.
Well, there's also some shots in the second round. We'll get to it, but there's some shots in the second round that remind me. And like, look at that. The use of the fence there is so sick. But like, there's some shots against the fence in the second round that reminded me of when Usman fought Woodley, and he's got him up against the cage. He's just uppercutting to the body.
Yeah.
Being there, watching it, I was like, "Oh my god, dude, this dude's guts probably hurts so bad."
Look, and even here, even the little rabbit punches just nonstop right to his face. So even, let's say, even if those punches aren't doing very much damage, it's got to be annoying as hell. Just constantly just being jabbed right on the side, right?
Yeah, it also like just takes does two little things. Like it takes your focus there mentally, and then like it focuses and forces you to like put something up there, whether it be like your hand to try to grab the hand or you're blocking or something. Either hand, it's doing something. So as soon as you put your hand there, it gives me the ability to put my hand somewhere else and either shift weight or grab or do whatever it is that I want to do. And again, make it so that I can go here and then change your focus here. Just sort of like bang the drums in different spots, so you have to keep moving.
That makes sense.
And then I don't know if you want to rewind it like a couple of seconds, but his one of his cornermen was actually a previous opponent of mine. The guy standing, that's Ramon Cornejo. He's one of my previous opponents.
That's cool. They're out of Castroville?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're out of Castroville?
Yeah. Yep.
Shout out Castroville. So in between rounds here, was it? I mean, we talked about it already there, but basically the corner advice was like, "Hey, he's probably going to shoot right away again."
Yeah, it was reiterating what we had talked about in the back, that like no matter what, he's going to do that same wrestling stuff. He may try to throw like one or two things, but he's going to just come in the wrestling. One thing that Coach Angel had said is we had done a whole lot of like working off the cage, and like as you're putting up against the cage to like shift and push them, and he said to like essentially use that drill and do the same thing but out in the open before I got to the cage. And immediately as he goes in and shoots off of this beginning, it's exactly what I do. One thing I should have done is I had said it in the back to like literally all my teammates, but I didn't do it, is as I'm putting my back to the cage, I should have disengaged and started throwing my strikes and forcing him again to re-engage. But instead I just sort of like, oh, I like wrestling. Let's wrestle.
Yeah.
Let's wrestle.
That's funny.
It's awesome.
But yeah,
All right,
that's
so
a
here we
great
go.
call out though, because that is what you do immediately when he shoots here. Is that
Starting off the
using his
second round.
momentum against him to get him on the cage?
Boom, turn,
There
and
it
then
is.
I
There
should
it
have
is.
again disengaged, but I was like, oh yeah, I like being in control here.
Hey, but those knees, the knees to the body that you were landing throughout this fight up against the cage, that's I mean,
Oh,
I've seen you knee to the body and stuff before, but they look different in this fight. Like, is that something you guys have been working on specifically? Because the knees that you were landing looked like more sharp than I've seen from you in the past.
No, we actually haven't been working knees specifically. We did work a whole lot of this cage work specifically though, like making sure that that person can't get off the cage if they wanted to, and then making sure that I'm not doing something stupid by getting my hands stuck in the fence and getting the ref to pull me off.
Yeah.
Making sure that my arms in that underhook aren't going above his head, and then making sure that my head is staying in between or on the correct outside that I needed to be on. But the knees specifically, no. One thing I was thinking about the whole time I was throwing them though was like, oh, I can't wait till I get to the next level and I can just bring that a little bit north and I can hit that to the face.
Yeah, because they don't let you at this level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to go back and pause it real quick, but there's me, nervous as hell, biting my fingernails. You can see me in the background sometimes. You see like videos of like Chuck Liddell and stuff at the UFCs in the crowd, and he's like, that was basically me like your entire fight. I was like,
there was a lot of people that had bought tickets from me specifically that like I heard and I was like, oh, I know who that is, or like I was on the outskirts of the cage and I looked over and I was like, oh, that's who that is. Like again, Alan, right here in the second round, there's a point where I get him on the floor. I think right here, I'm gonna grab his ankle and then eventually take him to the floor here. But the whole time I'm on top, Alan's reiterating because I have a bad habit of like going into scrambles and forcing scrambles even though I'm on top. So he was like just screaming at me like, stay on top, stay on top, stay on top, stay on top. And there's like a big long minute and a half, something like that. At least it felt like a minute and a half, where I'm like fighting to stay on top, and then I eventually do, and I stay physically on top of him. And I can hear when I watch the video back, me just screaming at Alan, thanks, Alan. I really appreciate it.
That's hilarious. When you got that little ankle pick takedown right there, what's funny is my buddy Josh, we were there and stuff. I was there with Katie and Brian, my brother, and all them. And all of a sudden, my buddy Coleslaw just like walks up. He's like, "What's up, guys?" And we're like, "Oh, hey!" But when you got that takedown, he was like, "Did you see what he just did? He just reached down and grabbed his ankle." I was like, "Yeah, dude, that was sick."
Yeah, like
right
so here, this would be something I would normally like try to circle out, even though he has my leg, and I would try to like create a weird scramble, but instead, like I was like, okay, I'll just put my weight down, stay on top of him. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could have again disengaged and done some striking here because he was definitely winded. It was something in my mind I could feel right here when I started like picking at his leg, and I finally got him to the floor. I was like, okay,
you're so
he
heavy,
may not be
though,
broken,
man.
but he's wilting. He's definitely not liking this.
Even if you weren't disengaging and landing shots, man, you're just so heavy on this guy that he was still getting drained either way. You could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, constantly having to fight you off while you're doing this. And I liked how you were doing that too. You'd go to the body a few times and then right up the top around the corner too.
Mm-hmm. Whenever I felt him resting his head on me, would be the time I was like, okay, 1, 2, boom. And then there's something I really like to point out here in between rounds in the second and third. They don't do a good job of capturing it on video, but as it pans back over, you'll see about like, I want to say like 15 seconds in, coaches sort of like, we like that round, just, keep doing the same thing. Reiterated what they were saying. And then like, they sort of noticed I was just like looking dead zoned at my opponent. And then I just sort of stood up from the stool and I just spent the rest of the entire in-between round just standing up, just staring at my opponent. Like right here, you'll just see me already standing. And coaches are like, all right, I guess.
They're like, I think he's ready.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
On the last episode, we talked about it, and I said I had never seen Toasty's cardio been better from the fights that I've watched than I did in this fight. I pointed that out. And you just look so fresh going into the third, man.
Do you think that's the weight class?
Change?
Is it the weight class?
Well, it was definitely the weight class. And then like a big shout out to a friend of mine, Chad. He had the Alta program he was going through for DC's gym, and sort of like, you know, when wrestlers get around wrestlers, it's just like we get a lot of motivation from one another. Like he got me into this thing where I was doing like 3 a days. I would go in. I still am sort of on the same schedule where I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning and I go do cardio up until 7 a.m. and then I'll come back home, go to work, spend my hour lunch at the gym, come home or go back to work, finish work, go to the gym. So there was a whole lot of like sort of motivation from those that were at the gym that sort of put my cardio where it needed to be.
Damn. So did you take any time off after this?
Well, I mean Halloween. So like
Yeah.
I took the kids trick or treating. I ate a lot of candy, but like in terms of like taking actual days off at the gym, the only day was Halloween.
Yeah.
My guy out here going to the gym during lunch, and I'm like driving up to the McDonald's drive-thru. You know, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing?
That's funny.
As an amateur, I can't wait till I'm a pro and I have time to put money into it.
Yeah. But see, like that knee right there, like that's nastier than I've seen you throw knees in the past.
For sure. And something right there that happened, this ref in between, I think the first and second, after all the wall walking, he came up and he like sort of chuckled and he was like, hey, so I know they're not your fingers, but you can't stick your toes in the cage either. So be careful.
Yeah. That's funny.
You know, you had pointed out the deep breaths too. That's something that I saw in the second round, Tosi. You're landing a lot of shots to his midsection, and he has his head on your shoulder. You're landing these shots, and while you're landing the shots, you could see him. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Taking deep breaths, man. So they were definitely taking a toll on him.
Yep, it's like an investment. You invest early and often, and they'll pay dividends at the end.
Yeah, there's some really cool groundwork coming up here too. There were some sneaky things you were doing, and like I thought you hit an arm drag right here, but there wasn't an arm drag, huh? You just kind of got the overhook and then scooted out, or the underhook, sorry.
So this is something I do to literally everybody, and I don't understand how it is that it works, and I don't understand
either.
I get it on everybody, like even the high level people in the gym and people like I grapple with. I think I hit it on. One second. Sorry about that. I think I hit it on a couple of like the not black belts. I think I hit it on like a brown belt and a black belt, or not a black belt. Oh my god, brown belt and a purple belt once. But all it is like I reach over and I get around their back, and as soon as I hook their bicep right there, it's like, okay, I have that hooked, like just the leverage. I don't need strength. Like it's just a matter of like keeping that arm there, and as they push down and try, it's pulling my other shoulder off the mat. So it's kind of like they try 2 or 3 times, and by that time they're like, oh shit, he's out, and I kind of just pop up on the back.
Dang, so you just get the underhook and reach this far side grip here.
One second, my audio switched back over.
Yeah, play it again. I want to see.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of like I reach around the back, and as I grab that bicep, as they go and pull, it'll pull my shoulder off, and then it's by that time my head's already out and I'm already on the back.
So basically, you're feeding with your right hand here. You're feeding his arm to your underhook.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not even like pushing it. It's literally like I just keep, because they're gonna reach back a little bit, and it's just me stopping it for a second to like grab with the other one.
Huh. Yeah, because live I thought you hit the arm drag, and I was like, damn, he just hit an arm drag in the 3rd round, and they're like sweaty. And I was like, how do you do that? And then when I rewatched it, I was like, how do you do that? It wasn't an arm drag.
That was so slick, man.
Yeah.
And then I love how as soon as he got on his back there, you just started landing shots right to the side of his face right away.
Yeah. And then right here, I didn't notice until I watched it back, but he almost taps. He goes to tap,
I thought he was going to
himself, and that's when like the ref reaches down. Go for it.
It's like right here, because I remember live, I was like, oh, he's about to tap. It's this hand right here, right?
Yeah.
Right. It looked like he was like getting it ready.
Right there.
And he's like,
yeah. And then, so I'm like, okay, I can't see that. So I'm going to squeeze, and I'm trying in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, you got to keep position. You can't do the same thing where you keep letting him scramble you. So I'm like, okay, I let that go, and I sort of keep position. And I noticed that I'm too high. So I'm trying to set hooks. And I'm like, okay, these hooks aren't going in. I have one other option I can go for, but I can't really do it with his arm here. So as soon as his arm comes out, okay, I'm like, all right, Ben Askren, here we go.
Ben Askren, the old Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
Dude, this was the gnarliest thing. When you put your feet on the fence right here, I was like, oh my God, how is this guy not tapping? It's so gnarly.
Yeah, that was deep too, man.
And then immediately throw the triangle up when he gets out of it. It's like, damn, dude. Yeah, I might. There's a video that somebody got. They must have been sitting like right here, of when you kind of set up that bulldog choke, and it's like,
it was
that guy in that white shirt right there.
Yeah, no, that is not white. Everything looks slightly like the colors look off. My shorts look almost pink. That's not the color.
Yeah.
That guy's shirt that you said is white is pink, actually. That's Antonio. That is the matchmaker. The guy who got the video is somebody who was actually a former opponent for Daniel Compton. He now does like interviews and media and stuff like that. But he was doing a lot of the videos in there. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But yeah, he was the one that did the video.
Yeah, that video, because it's like right in front of you guys, and you're like,
let me fix my audio. I'm gonna back out and then come back in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I saw it. Was it on Toasty's story?
I don't remember. Maybe
it was on my story, and it was on CCFC's.
But it wasn't a post, right? Because I was thinking about maybe trying to rip it and then damn it.
I need to figure out how to put it on a post. I did save it to like my story highlights or something like that, though.
Oh, then I can. If it's on your story, can I go to your account and see it then?
I believe so. If you go, I don't know how other people see my profile. I'm very new to how Instagram and Twitter and everything other than Facebook work. I'm an old man, so
yeah. Well,
I know a lot of people work at Geek Squad, but we're all pretty stupid.
Yeah. if it's visible on your profile, I will find a way to get it and I'll post it in this interview. But yeah, fun stuff with Geek Squad. But yeah, you got that choke, and then immediately once he got out of it, you threw the triangle up, and I was like, dude, if he lands this triangle with like a second left, this is gonna be insane.
Yeah.
How close was it? Was it?
It was very close.
Was it set up?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very close.
Because I was on the other side, so I could see that your legs were locked correctly, but I couldn't see like if it was like high on his head or like if his arm was even in. Like, so I was like, I wondered how close that was.
Yeah, his arm was straight, so I could have. It's in that position where it's just like, do you make that decision to switch over to an armbar or do you try to push it over? But then the bell rings and then you don't get to make that decision. Doesn't even try it.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Toasty, you're probably thinking to yourself, I got this, right? I've done enough.
Yeah, I was very confident that like I had done enough, especially that we weren't fighting in like Stockton. I seem to have bad luck with judges out there. But it's the only time that I felt weird about it was when Brandon decided to take 5,000 years to announce who won. When he was just sitting there and he was like, and the judges have it, and he's like taking super long. I'm like, Brandon, bro, you're a friend, but I'm about to hit you. You need to.
Yeah, I was like, dude, are they about to not give it to Toasty when it was clearly his win? I was like, dude, it would not be good.
Yeah, Brandon loves to do that though. He's such a punk.
Looking in phenomenal shape though, Toasty, like I said, and you probably could have gotten another 2 rounds, huh?
It didn't feel like it after that fight ended. I don't know if you noticed, but my legs like weren't working. I had to like lift myself up from the cage. I had to like climb up. But after in the back, I felt $1,000,000. Like I had a lot of energy. But I'm the kind of person that I kind of only have one gear when I go, when I'm training, when I'm doing anything. It's kind of hard to conserve energy. Like I kind of put every single thing into the fight every single time. So I didn't really have anything in that moment, but like after I got in the back, I got some wind. Yeah, I could have gone like another 5.
It was funny. Right before you walked out, I was talking to your mom, and she was like, "He's a twig right now. Wait till you see him."
It sucks because I actually felt really chubby. The night before when they like called me. It was like midday. I was like 146. I was on weight already. I was like, all right, I'm good. I can, float it and blah blah blah. And then like I'm making all my food to put in my ice chest and stuff like that because I come prepped in the back. And they text me. They're like, yeah, you don't need to cut weight. And I was like, well, that's sad. I like my abs. And then like I like eat a couple things and like I wake up the next morning, I'm like, I look down, I'm like, man, I look all chubby now.
Like, this is where I get to show off.
Exactly. Dude, this is the second time it's happened.
But you said 146, is that what you weighed in at?
I would have weighed at 145, but I was at 146 before I stopped cutting. I ended up weighing in at like I think 50.8. And then Joey weighed in at 53.8.
Awesome. And but you said that this is like the weight class, right? This is where you feel your best.
I mean, at the moment, I definitely feel great there. One of my coaches was even saying that like based off of how good the weight cut was going, he can't see why if I don't have like how Dragon House does their weigh-ins the day before. If I could get like something like that, he doesn't see why I can't go 35s.
Oh wow. Because what's the line of thinking there? This was so easy that if you pushed yourself, you could probably make that and be fine.
Yeah, the whole week of weigh-ins, that Sunday I was already at 48, like 3 pounds off of the weight, and like I was eating every single day. Like normally on a weight cut week, I'd be like eating very sparsely, getting through the day with like a scoop of peanut butter or like a banana or some shit like that. But, I was eating regular meals, chicken and, salads and, eating healthy, but like just eating meals, which is not normal. I had a lot of energy. I was super like energetic and happy, which is super abnormal. Like usually I'm super irritable and cranky all the time. But I mean, if I can do all of that and get down to like 48, 45 the week of, and then like 2 days, 3 days before, get down to like 5 pounds, and then sweat out 2-3 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, so then what's the goal? You get 3 belts then, or what?
Well, I mean, the goal is to go pro. That's the goal. If that's the way to get there, then that's the way to get there. But right now, we're actually we have 2 dates in mind. One is February 4th back at the Boardwalk, or at least in Santa Cruz. I don't know if it's going to be at the Boardwalk. It's definitely going to be in Santa Cruz. CCFC again, defending the belt. And then the other one, I believe, is I don't know the promotion, but the other date would be February 25th, which would be the last Saturday. So the first Saturday of the month and the last Saturday of the month.
Nice. Awesome. Would that be CCFC 3? Is that what they're planning on?
No, it's a different promotion.
But the early one, the February 4th.
I believe they have one more, unless that's just I'm thinking about Compton's fight. It could be CCFC 3. It's either going to be 3 or 4.
Nice. Fun stuff, man.
Well, that's awesome, man.
It was cool too, because shout out to CCFC, but it's funny, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she's like a paramedic or EMT. I don't know the difference, but she's like, oh, I'm gonna be on standby for that. And we're like, oh dang. So like we'll all be there. And then she was like, yeah, but we're just gonna be down there in case someone needs like a hospital, like an ambulance ride or something. So I'll just be like you guys won't see me. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we show up and she's just sitting there in the front and she's like, oh yeah, apparently I'm gonna be up here the whole time. And we're like, oh dang. So funny. And then there was a fight where someone needed like medical attention earlier in the night. Yeah. And Ramiro and George were watching the YouTube live stream and they were texting me. They're like, hey, what's going on? Like, what's taking so long for this fight to start? And I was like, oh, they're waiting for the medical staff. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, it's Dom. And they're like, what? Like, the person they're waiting for was my sister.
Hey, shout out to Dom, by the way. Shout out to Dom. She's awesome.
Yeah, so funny.
Dude, that night was fantastic. It was a night full of fights. And just so you know, Toasty, I kicked boxing off the TV. UFC was not on there. It was Toasty on my TV, on my big screen TV, because that's what I wanted to focus on, man. It was awesome. It was so much fun watching your fight, man. And dude, like, just super proud, man. As I'm watching, Will, I'm sure you were there. You probably had goosebumps, man.
Bro, you should have seen, like, anytime you can see me in the background in this fight, I'm either like leaning to try to see differently, or like I was like walking around and shit, and I was like, dude, like,
or crying.
yeah,
or
I was
crying.
feeling it.
It's
I did not-
sort
I
of
did
like
not
when you're back when you were hella young and you were playing video games and you'd be like racing,
Yeah.
you'd be like,
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I'm like, once you hit the sprawl, I was like, just stick with the sprawl.
Hey, no, but
That's so
congratulations again, Toasty. Congratulations again, man.
Yeah.
I think this is just the beginning for you. I really do.
well, I appreciate you guys. You know, it's awesome seeing, you know, you guys start from like how small of a community you had to like how great your production goes, and how you always have an active chat in the log every time you're doing videos. Your guys' production's going up every single time you're doing it, so it's great to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've talked. I appreciate that, by the way. But we've talked about we're still working on shirts, and we will do the traditional, right? The story of the fight, the Pride shirt, the Street Fighter shirt, and we're trying to scale that up with a screen printer and stuff, so we can actually like sell shirts and stuff, and have them on deck. But the first fighter shirt we will make is definitely going to be yours. We are definitely still going to make you a story of the fight / Andrew Toasty Tosty fight or shirt, and it's going to be sick.
I appreciate it,
It's going to
man.
be tight.
I'll put it in a shadow box and put a little picture on it.
Yeah.
There we go. So it's at Toasty MMA. Is that going to be the exact same handle? Yeah, it's an awesome shirt, by the way. But is it going to be on Instagram? Where else? Twitter?
Instagram. It's on my Twitter. I don't really use Twitter that much. I mean, I have it just to have it, you know.
It's going
Future
downhill
sake.
anyways.
I'm not paying for a verification anyway. It's Instagram, Twitter. I have a Facebook profile, but it's not like a basic profile. It's like one of those athlete ones. I have a personal Facebook, but it's not necessarily where you're going to find all my MMA stuff. But Instagram would be where you're going to go to look for it. Twitter as well. YouTube, there is a channel that's out there. I do put some videos up, like when I was releasing out large portions of information that doesn't really go out on like Instagram and stuff like that. But that would be where you can look for me. It's also my email account. If you end up having like any sort of contact you need for me for tickets or something like that, that's where you can get a hold of me.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Andrew Toasty Tosty. I hope all the announcers get it right going forward. But thank you so much for joining us again, man. Best of luck to you. We'll definitely touch base again once we're getting up to these fights. Maybe Will attends this other fight. You know,
Hey, man,
I got to fly in
doesn't
for
sound
one of
like
these.
February 4th doesn't sound like it's by a holiday, so I think we're good.
Well, it's the February 4th, I think, is the last Saturday before Super Bowl.
Oh, perfect. I don't care about football, so it's perfect.
There we go. All right. Well,
yeah, my team's dead in the water, so who cares?
all right. Well,
Ramirez all geared out with his football. He's a football man.
We don't
I'm
need to
ready
talk
go,
about
dude.
them
It's that time of
boys.
year. No, but thanks again, Andrew Toasty Tosty. Will, always a blast whenever we get to have Andrew on the podcast.
Definitely.
And everybody, thanks for joining us for a special episode of Story of the Fight.
Hell yeah. Thank you for having me.